Did you care about any of the underage minor females at the time when you were engaging in sexual conduct with them?
Do you have any remorse for your actions against these victims?
The whole thing about it is if I didn't go to Jeffrey, without a shadow of a doubt, my life would have gone a different way.
You put a lot of guilt on yourself, not the person that did it to you.
I became a completely different person. I was living in a world of like rainbows, sunshine, unicorns, butterflies. And then when this happened, it was more like you can't trust anybody. Started like sleeping with people, becoming very angry. I was gonna be the one that used people and made them feel like.
She started to change quite a bit. Very emotional, throwing a lot of temper tantrums. We're thinking, okay, well, she's a teenage girl, she's 16, you know, it's just a phase she's going through.
A lot of times, what girls will choose to think is, this is my fault. And so I'm not gonna tell anyone, I don't wanna be blamed. So I'll keep it to myself, and I'll have all of this shame.
I didn't say anything to anybody except my best friend for a year until the police showed up at my door. And I was thinking, oh my God, I cannot believe that somebody knows. So at that point, I had to go and tell my mom what happened.
Things in the past started making a lot more sense. As a mother, you feel like, why couldn't you protect her? Why didn't she tell me?
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Lasada. I've listened to the recording of me talking to the detectives.
He went down to, my vagina.
We've heard it all.
My God.
I could hear how little I was and how, like, afraid. I felt really bad for that little girl.
All right.
During the course of the investigation, the Palm Beach police documented interviews with about 24 potential victims and witnesses.
I am investigating a case. I believe that you have information on Jeff Epstein. Okay?
Okay.
The Palm Beach police, as they're going through their investigation, they find there's like a network going through these schools of victims being recruited.
Half of the school knows about it.
Half of the school know about it?
All of the victims had basically the same story of what they were asked to do and what they did and what happened.
Did he offer you more money to do more things?
Yeah. $100 more just to take my shower.
$200 for 40 minutes. That was a lot for a 16-year-old girl making $6 an hour. If I could close my eyes and do something else.
I knew it would be a big case. And so that's why I told the state attorney about it.
State Attorney Barry Krischer, at the time, was very highly regarded, and he was known as a tough prosecutor.
I told him that this is a 50-some-year-old man with very young female children. He asked me the person's name. I told him it was Jeffrey Epstein, and he said, I never heard of the guy. He said, we'll put this guy away the rest of his life. It'll be easy for us.
Police were able to get a search warrant and go into his home to try to retrieve any relevant evidence.
So they went room to room in the house and videotaped it.
Jeffrey Epstein was tipped off on the search warrant. The computers had all been removed. Still, there were message pads with girls' names.
The police did a bang-up job. They had everything they needed to paint this guy as a 20-year jailbird. It was mind-boggling.
Epstein decides he's going to turn the tables, and he's going to make sure that the alleged victims and even the investigators are being looked at.
Anybody who ever attacks Jeffrey Epstein, he attacks back.
When you know how to perform surveillance, you know how to pick up when it's being performed on you. I was under surveillance, as was the lead detective, for at least 3 months, pretty much 24 hours a day. For a sitting police chief, that's pretty unusual.
Many of these girls were followed. They were threatened.
Jeffrey Epstein's private investigators, they were trying to get information. They wanted me to talk to them. It was definitely intimidation, harassment.
The girls would call my office saying, you know, I was just followed home from school by a black Lincoln Navigator just going slowly behind me.
Epstein hired some of the biggest names in the country to defend him. Epstein gets his attorneys to start investigating the accusers, looking into their social media, looking to see if they have any juvenile records.
Epstein's lawyers also start sending letters to the prosecutor's office. One in particular calls an alleged victim, quote, untruthful, sexually active, smokes marijuana.
The letter also says Mr. Epstein does not use drugs or alcohol
and has an unequivocal reputation for being truthful.
Epstein's attorneys said, look, hey, these girls are doing bad things. These are bad girls. You're not going to be able to prove your case.
Police Chief Ryder says at this point he notices a significant change, and he and his detectives are getting radio silence from the state's attorney's office.
I asked the state attorney, Barry Krischer, to stop in my office. He told me all this case was a misdemeanor. He suggested we write Epstein a notice to appear. It's basically similar format as a traffic ticket. I was basically pleading with him, please reconsider. And he just basically got up and walked out of my office. That's when I sent the state attorney a letter asking him to remove himself from the case.
It's very rare in Palm Beach County for somebody to go after the state attorney, but Ryder did.
Chief Ryder says he never heard back about his letter, and Barry Krischer stayed on the case, and then nothing much happened for another 2.5 months.
When I opened the newspaper, I was stunned.
Epstein had been charged with a single count of solicitation of prostitution.
And in the charge, nothing about minors.
The Palm Beach Police Department had put together a case for dozens of lewd and lascivious molestation against minor charges against Jeffrey Epstein.
Barry Krischer could have thrown a book at Epstein, and he refused to do it.
The former state attorney, Barry Krischer, has not responded to ABC News' efforts to talk to him.
Krischer recently defended his actions in a public statement, saying that he presented evidence and witnesses to a grand jury, which returned a single-count indictment of felony solicitation of prostitution.
Calling these girls prostitutes is a very offensive thing.
We weren't prostitutes. We weren't whores. We were children.
I needed to let them know it doesn't end with this.
He did the only thing he could do, which is take it to the FBI.
The FBI begins a nationwide investigation.
He's got homes in New York, Virgin Islands, New Mexico, and that becomes particularly perilous for Epstein. He may have underestimated the determination of many of the victims.
Mr. Epstein, how long have you been sexually attracted to underage minor females?
Are you kidding?
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.